My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave Dubow. And have you ever wondered how a power couple, Brian and Jessilyn, are transforming the real estate game in Sherwood Park, Alberta? Today, we've got the inside scoop on their dynamic strategies and success. Brian and Jessilyn, welcome to the show. Thrilled to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's always exciting. As we were talking before the show, not every couple is a power couple, and not every spouse is on board with the real estate journey. So I don't know, where do you guys want to start? I would say we should dive in there. Like, were you both already doing real estate before you came together, or how did that work out?
So yes, we were doing real estate before we came together. We weren't doing what I would call traditional real estate investing before we came together. We were kind of stumbling around in the investment world. Okay. But when we did come together and we ended up dating and getting married and all that, we did come together quite a bit on the investment side. I'll let Jess kind of explain the dynamics around that, because I was the outlier in that sense.
Okay. So funny enough, we actually bought our first investment property together before we were ever even engaged.
No.
And I know when we were dating, I said, well, to me, it's business. So if we don't work out, I'm still happy and okay with pursuing the business side of it. And he agreed. So we did that when we got our first property in 2009 together, I should say, because we both each had some outside of that. I just got really excited, and I know it's supposed to be boring because it's business, but that day I decided I wanted to buy one property every 2 years. And I did not share that goal with him. So he did not know my plan, but I continued on that journey, and we did continue to buy one every 2 years.
Basically, yeah. But as she was saying there, like there was a lot of resistance on my end, and it took us a while to overcome that and figure out like the right formula to get us both on board with real estate.
So what was your initial resistance to the idea?
Partly it was the work of the initial properties, like all of a sudden realizing what it takes to manage a property, all the learning that you have to do, everything that you got to take on in order to actually run a real estate portfolio. The other resistance was goals that I had never really contemplated or even understood before. And so we had Jess here, aiming for this thing that I wasn't quite grasping, and what I couldn't get quite the concept of what she was aiming for. So the communication between us took a while to like kind of mature, and for her to actually be able to explain properly to me what the goal was and why we needed to get there. And what would you say that took? It took 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
So and that whole time we were buying properties in that 8 years, and one day I just maxed out and I said, that's it. We're not buying any more properties. This is too much for me to handle. And she took a different course.
I said, no, we're buying more. And so he went to see one of our properties out of province that weekend. And so I did a lot of Googling, and I found a real estate investment networking group, and I signed him up and sent him there. And no, I didn't ask. I just signed him up. And after his first one, the light switch came on, and he went, wow, there's a bigger world out there that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
So you were like, before that, I guess were just along for the ride. You were like participating, but
I understood it. I understood it, but the work, a lot of the work came onto my shoulders. And so, yeah, it was the work and the idea of like just consistently taking on more and more and more. And at the time I didn't really see the payoff of it. And so to take on more work with what I didn't really see as a payoff didn't make any sense to me. And then
so then you went to the real estate networking event. That was your first one then?
Yeah. So she signed me up for that. I went, and the big eye opener was I just by happenstance got into a conversation with a guy who just very casually announced that in 10 years he would have $25,000 of monthly passive income. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like he knew he was going to get there. He knew exactly how it was going to go, and it was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's just the way it's going to go. And I went, you can do that with real
Yeah,
estate?
he's on plan. He's on
Yeah,
schedule for that, right? Because you get what you make, you get what you
yeah.
plan. So, um, yeah, that's not really something that people can plan out with a job. Like maybe if my boss is nice and his job does well and his company gets exceptionally more wealthy, then maybe, but still never. Like there's still no reality where your job's going
That's
to be
true.
paying you 25K a month. So
No,
you're
no.
gonna have to make a business, and then
Yeah.
you make a real estate business, and the real estate business has a potential to do so.
Yeah.
So from that point, what was the momentum like after that?
After that eye opener, we bought 3 properties in the next 2 years, I think it was, right? Yeah. So we actually changed not just our real estate portfolio, but a lot of our financial life. So we were this close to paying off our mortgage for our house,
Right.
and we went, what the heck are we doing with this, free
Why would we pay
money?
it down?
Yeah.
Let's rack it
Refinanced
back up.
everything. Yeah.
And
Re
bought 10 more properties.
bought a whole bunch more properties, and then ended up buying one more a little bit after that,
Mm-hmm.
and dumped some of our lemons that we had bought over the 8 years, and
Mm-hmm.
that we just weren't really working out for us anymore.
Right.
So yeah, it wholesale change of everything that we did around real estate, everything we did around our finances, all changed just from her dropping me into the right room and getting that eye opener experience.
Yeah, reframing the business, really
Yeah.
Mhm.
getting everybody on board. There's a quote by Steve Jobs. It goes something that you want people to all be on the same vision, because detailing a plan to everyone doesn't work the same way as giving an overlying vision and allowing people to plan into that vision. So, that's a big thing that, especially when it's coming to like couples working together, um, you can have a job, you could both have separate jobs, and one guy works for the garbage department and the girl works as a secretary, and they don't have to have that vision. Their vision meeting might be like, what's our one vacation this year, and how
Yeah.
much is it gonna how much space do we have on the credit cards to book that? That might be the like scope of their involvement around each other's finances and business. So um after that point, what has the real estate, well, let's say that that's like a challenge. Let's say that that was a challenge and you overcame. um it maybe wasn't a challenge, but it was certainly not maximizing the potential of the two of you. So then since
Yeah.
that moment, when was that, and what changed beyond that?
So it was 2017 when I signed him up for that program, and we
Mhm.
progressed through there. And that's when we both got a lot more heavily into the real estate world.
Mhm.
Not
Right.
necessarily just our investing, but like connecting with other investors.
Mhm.
And that's where we really started hearing at conferences and in rooms, like, how do you guys do it together? My wife has no interest. My husband doesn't want me to do this. And we just kept hearing it over and over. And finally, I just went, there's a market here. Let's help couples come together and understand it and see how we can, like, because, we've been in a position where we may not have been on board with each other, and we know what that feels like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we could understand when we have a good friend of ours come to us and say, my wife has no interest in real estate whatsoever, and it makes it hard for me I can't share because she doesn't care. And that you could see the pain, if you will, in him, because he's excited about it and he can't share it with his closest, friend, partner.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
where we ramped up and did our Life by Design program and podcast to help professional couples come together, whether it be real estate or business.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, but it wasn't for her dropping me in that room and like getting me involved with the people who could communicate the message, like you said, that vision that Steve Jobs had, to me
Mhm.
properly, rather than her just saying, we need to buy properties. We need to buy properties, right? That
Mhm.
because that plan didn't resonate with me, but the vision resonated with me, and that's when we both got into action together and moved forward. And
Yeah, the
then
why are we buying property? You know, like,
why are we
yes,
buying
I keep
properties?
hearing
Yeah.
you telling me that we need to, but I don't understand why to. Then you see a guy at the front of the room go, yeah, 25K in 10 years. That's doable. Maybe I'll get there in 7. Maybe it'll take me 12, but I'll be there. And you're like, you can just ask for that. Like, you can do that. Yeah, you can, especially with real estate. So, um, on the real estate side of things, what does the portfolio look like now, and what are the plans in 2024?
Yeah, so since 2017, we ramped up a fair bit, bought a whole bunch of more properties, but then at the same time we decided to get rid of a lot of our lemons.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout COVID a little bit, through 2020, 2021, we started selling a lot of the condos that we had bought. We
Mm-hmm.
primarily, because we lived downtown when we first started buying properties. So
Right.
you kind of just buy in the areas that you know when you
Yeah.
don't know what you're doing in real estate in investing, you kind of just buy what you know.
Yeah.
So we were
Mhm.
buying condos downtown Edmonton, and market crashed there, and the tenant profile is like not so great.
Mhm.
And we ended up buying properties here in Sherwood Park, but the portfolio was amazing out here, and the
Mhm.
tenant profile is great. So as soon as we started to see that kind of black and whiteness between the two types of portfolios, we sold off that stuff. We
Mhm.
really spent I would say we spent a good 2 to 3 years reconfiguring our whole portfolio so
Cleaning
that
it up.
it was a really high performing portfolio. And we're kind of done that now, and the future looks like bringing on partners. We've rearranged our business as well, so the business is more able to invest in real estate. So
Mm.
from 2024 on, it'll really be about investing in real estate again, and like building that portfolio, helping other people build that portfolio as well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So when you look at, because it's interesting, a lot of people in the hold game do that kind of trimming of the fat at some point. They're like, how can I get more dollars per property instead of
Yeah.
chasing number of doors?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, I've got 100 doors and I make no cash flow. It's like, congratulations. It's an equity play then, right?
Yep.
Or I have 10 doors and I'm making 10 grand a month somehow. People are
Yeah.
like, how did you do it? And you're like, well, I rent the parking behind this one and I rent the garage on that one, and I maximize the income per door instead of, chasing the door count. So very, very good on you guys for, like, I guess it'd be stabilizing. If it was a multifamily portfolio, we'd call that stabilization. So you'd
Yeah.
stabilize your portfolio. Now that you guys are on board, is it a lot easier to move forward with the real estate now that you're both on the same team?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's almost no arguments anymore. If we haven't bought a property in a little while, but I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure if we saw a property and that on paper, one of us decided that it was a property we should buy, it would be an instant decision at this point. There wouldn't be too much conversation around it, because we're both knowing that that property matches exactly what we need in our portfolio, and we would want it there right away, and there would be very little argument, very little conversation around it. It would just be kind of like, that's the vision, that's the goal, go forward and do it.
So what would you say your guys' secret sauce is? What comes easy to you guys that other people might find difficult to do?
Well, I think the biggest thing is firstly communication.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to understand not just what you want, but why. Also, I think knowing your role in the relationship
huge.
of the
That's
real
huge.
estate, because we definitely, that was not there when we first started. We both thought we'd be doing everything, and soon realized where our strengths were and were not. And it's not always easy to admit when where your strengths aren't. But when
Mhm.
we did, things just went a lot smoother. And so now we know, like, if we're going to invest in our next property, we know what I would do to get us there. And then we know at what point he'd step in and or take over. So accepting your partner and their strengths and coming together, it makes such a huge difference, as opposed to sometimes there's I call it the ego gets in the way, and you're like, oh, like, yeah, I can do that too. And it's not against him or me. It's like, let's come together and make this powerful.
Yeah. There's different personalities that are just suited to different roles. And if you let your ego get in the way, thinking that, you know, I can take it all on and I can do it all, then you're gonna keep overriding your partner, or you're gonna have this like kind of gray zone of a role where you're not really sure where, you know, what part of the role she should take on, what part of the role I should take on. So to create that like black and white situation around it really like opens up the freedom of what you can do inside of your business with it.
So when you guys are working together, because there's kind of there's like two types of real estate investors. There's the like solo guy, usually a solo guy, sometimes a girl. And then there's the couple, typically not business partners. You don't get a lot of like two dudes hanging out together, starting a business together. Like it doesn't, it seems, it doesn't seem to like, I'm sure it exists. It's just the minority. It's usually one guy or a couple. So how do you guys maintain the black and whiteness in who's responsible? Because it could be easy. I mean, obviously the communication is key, but what are some tips that maybe you have for keeping it separated?
Have an agreement in place. And I'm not talking about like a written contract per se, but have that conversation. And if you know what role you love and you both understand that, just be comfortable knowing that's what you run with. And your partner needs to accept that, right? And if you both communicate, discuss it, and agree, that's your agreement, right? So now you're not in that gray zone, like he was saying, wondering if you should be doing this or that. So yeah, coming together.
Yeah. We regularly meet on many different topics. We have different meetings for different things. So not only like a weekly business meeting, but we also have a weekly relationship meeting, a weekly finance meeting. Some of them are like 15 minutes, right? Like we literally are just around the island in the kitchen and chatting, but like we try to keep it on a consistent basis so that we don't have 2 or 3 months go by and we're not talking about what we need to talk about, and then there's issues building up or things that are undiscussed. And then the other thing that we have is very specific questions that we ask. So like we won't ask like, you know, so how do you think the business is doing? And it's more like, it's like, how do you think the income of the business is going on? How do you think the expenses of the business is going? Right? How do you feel about the future of the business? It's not, we kind of refined our questions to be much more easy to answer and more meaningful answers as compared to the, hey, how's it going? You know, kind of thing. Yeah.
How's it going? Good. Yeah, there's I think it's I think it's either Grant Cardone and Tony Robbins. He says, if you want better answers, ask better questions. So
100%. Yeah.
So tell the listeners a little bit about the way you help people such as yourselves navigate the dynamics of the power couple situation.
Yeah. So as we kind of talked about, we found ourselves in these rooms where there was always a mismatch between the partners. And
one a little bit more excited than the other. One's the horse and one's the cart, maybe.
Yeah. Very good analogy. And so what the beginning of our course does when you enter into our workshop or get coaching with us is really getting you on point with where you are on the map. Like where does both sides of the partnership exist in the relationship? And once you kind of find out where you are, then you can more clearly define where you're going to go. And at the end, what we really help people with is actually doing the work, because that's what helped us. That's why we got to where we are today, is through doing the work. And like we said, you know, if you have a conversation every 3 months, you're probably going to fall behind. You're probably not going to discuss as much as what you need to discuss. So
because then you're only having like 4 conversations a year.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not enough. And so that's primarily what we do is we sit everybody down, we work them through where they are and where they want to go, and then we put together a plan for them to actually do the work. And what that looks like is weekly conversations with specific questions that they've designed to ask each other, and then it's up to them to keep themselves accountable and have those questions. But basically, we've given them the framework to start having those conversations on a regular basis and start putting together their future vision piece by piece by piece, rather than overwhelming themselves with too much all in that one weekend that you end up kind of throwing away and never using again, right? Your typical kind of Tony Robbins weekend where you get all charged up and then what do you do with it after, right?
You got the 10X hat, and then the background. There's an example of a weekend you can get really charged up about and do nothing about it in the end. So, how does that work as far as, because you mentioned it's both real estate and other. So that framework, because one thing that is important to my partner is that she feels included, because I kind of just do it. But I started just doing it, right? She wasn't around when I started real estate, and integrating her kind of comes and goes. Like, she has a baby, while she can't exactly like move the staging furniture anymore. So how do you navigate that for integration and then fluctuation within the relationship?
It comes back to those weekly meetings. Like those weekly meetings don't allow us to get off page, right?
Yeah.
So we can't drift away and then all of a sudden not know what the business is doing or not know what the real estate is doing. So when we sit down and I, if it has to do with real estate, and I'm kind of like, what, the floors in this one property are not that great. Like, and I think it's hurting the rental value. Let's go and renovate it. Well, I don't have to wait more than 7 days to talk with her about that, right? And it gets discussed. We can build a plan out of it, and we can go forward. So really, just that.
I have the tendency of just doing it. I'll just go and do it, and then it's like you never include me in those decisions, and I guess I don't in hindsight. But it's that integration. It's like how like that base framework, which is, I guess, what you guys really start people off with, is like, how do you get on the same page in the first place and stay on the same page long term? So that's really exciting, because there is a lot of that in real estate, especially, but I'm sure it goes with any business. There's the horse and the cart, who's pulling and who's riding along in this particular week. So yeah. Now, when it comes to real estate, are you guys, to switch gears a little bit, are you guys more of like a find your deals first and then move to the money, or do you prefer to have your money put together and then go looking for deals out in Sherwood Park?
So we haven't brought on a partner in quite a while. So definitely,
It would be like financing. Do you go and get pre-financed?
Oh, sorry, that's kind of a given.
Sherwood Park is a hot market. It is not easy. Like, you're going to have multiple offers every time. So if you want a property and you're not ready for it, don't even waste your time putting in an offer. So we generally go in and we have it lined up. So we know if we want a property, we can give a bigger deposit, we can pull. So there's less things to have to view, generally, to get approved or selected from the buyer over the other 3 or 4 or 5 offers.
And that end, oh, go ahead. I was just saying that end of the business took a long time to kind of polish, because you got to find the right mortgage brokers, you got to find the right realtors, you got to find a lot of the right team to allow that quick turnover to happen, so that you have everything in place and everybody's ready to pull the trigger as quick as you can.
So historically, so far, you have not brought any partners on this. This is all your own self-financing and mortgages and things of that nature.
Yeah. In Sherwood Park, we've not brought on any partners. I had a partner in Saskatoon, so we had property there. But and then obviously we partnered up before we were truly
Yeah,
married
that's true. Yeah.
and legally partners. But no, coming into Sherwood Park, which is a historically under invested market. In fact, back in 2017, when we started investing in Sherwood Park, and I was in those real estate rooms, people looked at me kind of cross-eyed. They didn't really understand why anyone would go and invest in Sherwood Park. They
Well,
looked
it's
at
like a
it.
ring road, right? It feels like it not really part of Edmonton, especially back then, because I can remember students used to bring me deals in Edmonton in the Sherwood Park area, and I'd be like, "Where's that?" And they're like, it's in Edmonton, I promise you." And it's like, okay, zoom out, zoom out. Okay, it's like a touching Edmonton.
That's
So it's in
just,
Edmonton. Um,
It's much
yeah,
closer
they've
than
had a
you
lot of
think. Yeah.
a lot of success. And with the ring road, you just get on any of the exits and drive around to it. So um very much like anyone in Calgary, driving forever to get anywhere. So it's an Alberta thing for sure. Now, definitely people are making money in there like crazy, as far back as 16 and 17 and 18 and 19 and 20. Like, it just keeps going. People have been making good money in that neighborhood. When are you guys gonna, is that your plan for this year, to just keep buying in there?
Yeah, I don't think we have too much plans to venture out of Sherwood Park. We live in Sherwood Park.
Mhm.
That's one of the main things, and the tenant profile out here is like A plus plus.
yeah.
So I can like one of the recent suites that we had for rent, I had 20 applicants lined up for viewings in just one day. So I had to book them 15 minutes apart, and like I had people tripping
Process
over.
them, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people tripping over each other.
Well, they
So
probably all showed up in their cars too, because
yeah,
they're
yeah.
probably not. There's no bus tenant profile they're gonna be busing out there to get. I mean, I'm sure there's transit, but it's not that close. Like, that's a 45-minute bus ride, I would guess, from downtown. So
Yeah, yeah,
No, it's
um
actually they got a direct bus, believe it or not. So
yeah,
it's
you'd
about
probably need the
25 minutes.
express. Yeah, you get
Yeah.
on it. It doesn't stop until it gets to like closer to downtown.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we've got a couple expresses because Winnipeg, like Edmonton, the ring road, right? We use that same kind of system. We're sister cities. So I definitely, we just don't have any of those. We have one, yeah, it's in the Northwest. It's called St. Andrews, and yours is Sherwood Park. So yeah, expensive
Yeah.
properties, and the sky's the limit because they're outside the ring road, and the properties get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So the future's looking good for that area. So um if people want to connect with you guys, they want to, possibly invest with you or learn more about your program, what should they do? How do they find you?
Yeah, so people can send us an email to info@discoverlifebydesign.ca,
Mm-hmm.
and we're happy to discuss whether they want to come together as a power couple or whether they want to invest in real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and see what direction they want to go and how we can help.
And that's also all our social media handles
Mhm.
and our website, Discover Life by Design.
Yeah.
So if you go any of those, Insta, Facebook, TikTok, we're on all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you can look us up. If you have questions, just message us.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I really appreciate you guys stopping by and, fighting the good fight against the incongruency that can arise between couples and investing, period, in anything, but specifically real estate. As it's enough to get divorced on one house when to get divorced on 10. So
Yeah,
figure it out. Do you want to do that together, or you want to do that apart? So I really appreciate you guys stopping by, and until next time, guys, we'll check you on the next episode. Thanks a lot, guys.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.